water
Yeah.
conference. Two of them are from Nevada, which gets 10 inches of rain a year.
Mm-hmm.
And after 5 years of the worst drought on memory, they have perennial ponds and streams.
Wow.
Because of the way the land has been managed over the past 25 years, 15 years of planned grazing. And then beavers showed up, and they just showed up. Nobody knows where they came from. They just heard the water or however they find it. And they work their magic, and you can go watch that video. It's Carol Evans and John Griggs in our 2015.
Say their names one more time.
Carol Evans,
Okay.
Craol Evans,
Uh-huh.
John Griggs, and it's right up on our website.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
The
look at
Stirring
that.
Water page.
Are they cattle farmers?
John is a rancher, a cattle rancher,
Yeah.
and Carol is a fisheries biologist who at the time was working for the BLM, which she isn't anymore, but they collaborated a lot on the biology of the high desert in Nevada, which and now you can look at their imagery and you see all this tan, brown, desiccated landscape, and right in the middle of it there's this oasis of hundreds of acres and just biodiverse everything, and even ducklings. I don't know what a duckling is doing in the middle of Nevada, but so I guess the question is, if they have water year-round in the midst of 5 years of drought where they can water their cattle and keep their wetlands going, where everybody else is trucking water in, water the cattle, why not? Why not?
Sure.
In Mexico, and there's, holistic ranches down there.
Yeah, definitely. We had the largest holistic ranches, interesting enough, are in the northern desert of Chihuahua.
Yeah, that's Patty.
Well, actually, Patty's in the Sierra Gorda, which gets a lot more rain. But they're actually, and they do a lot of reforestation, and they work with a nature reserve. And actually, Judith was here in Mexico not too long ago at a talk with them in Mexico City. But the ranchers I'm talking about are Savory hubs. They're official hubs. The Sierra Gorda group isn't. They have a special relationship with Savory.
Okay.
But
they were at the same hub training I was at in 2013.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Mario and Marta. Yeah. But the Savory hubs in the northern Chihuahua desert are incredible. And there's a group that they're called Pasticultores del Desierto, that they partner with a lot of bird conservancy groups in the United States. And they've gotten a lot of funding for their work because of protecting biodiversity for certain bird species that are in danger. So it's pretty cool. So we've got several more people on. Let's see who else is on. Let's do a really quick round of just brief introductions. I see Isabel has joined us. Hello. We have several other people on the sign-up list, but we'll see who actually comes in. Isabel, have you joined a call before?
No, this is my first call.
Oh, great. Would you like to start with a brief introduction?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So my name is Isabel Jeniches, and I currently work at EcoFarm. I don't know if you know EcoFarm. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So our main event is the EcoFarm conference in Pacific Grove in California. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's a 37-year-old event. It was founded by a couple of farmers that were at the time doing sort of organic without the official stamp existing. And that was in '81. They came together in a little firehouse in Winters, and it was like 50 farmers who just wanted to exchange information on how to farm in a different way than current chemical standard. And from that initial get together, an annual conference was found, and it's been going on ever since. It's grown into about 1,600 to 1,800 attendees. Still, half of them are farmers, but we also have activists, educators, gardeners, product, the whole produce area is part of it. It's an amazing event every year in January, actually. And I've been working for EcoFarm now since 2013 when I was an intern, and I first became really interested in regenerative practices when I heard Maria Rodil speak as our keynote speaker. And sort of a light bulb went up in my head, and this is the hope for the future, that we can actually reverse climate change by creating healthy soil, using regenerative agricultural practices, treat our working lands in different ways, and use conservation. Must have been a big light bulb, because Maria put it into my book that I purchased. So here's my aha moments. And ever since, I've been a great advocate for this getting this full message out. And in our conference, we've had of course, climate change has been a theme in the conference for many years, but recently then, and more, there have been workshops or even keynotes this year on the regenerative agriculture. So, and I've been spearheading these efforts that actually this year include a keynote with Rachel Letta, Gabe Brown, and David Johnson. And then also a pre-conference and a field day at Piscinus Ranch here, who does amazing work, and several workshops. So there's a lot going on, and it's been interesting. I've seen it, the acceptance of this idea grow by leaps and bounds. I would say in the last year, especially, or maybe a year or two. At first, there was a lot of skepticism, I think, because it almost sounds like good to be true, right? A couple of early adopters, and then now it's out there, and people believe it, at least in this very small bubble that EcoFarm exists in, of organic producers and beyond organic producers, biodynamic, permaculture, urban agriculture, those kind of things. So that's my lengthy introduction, and I'm glad to be here, and I hope to connect with all. Watched a couple of the videos. Amazing work that's being done by everybody.
Great. Thanks, Isabel.
Judy, you're a progenitor of aha moments.
Or that sounds good.
Yeah. I've gotten some from you.
Judith, do you want to give us, most of us know each other, but let's do really some quick introductions.
Sure. My name is Judy Schwartz, and I'm a journalist, and I've been writing about regenerative agriculture. Well, before I knew that was the term, I wrote a book about soil, Cows Save the Planet, and Other Improbable Ways of Restoring Soil to Heal the Earth.
I know it.
A book that came out last night. Oh gosh, last year.
Time flies, right?
Water in Plain Sight: Hope for a Thirsty World. And I'm brewing another book because there is much more to be said and explored, and the urgency continues and builds. And I've been doing a bunch of traveling, and there's traveling impending. I don't know if I talked to you all since I was in France and Norway, but France, there was a gathering, about 180 people, to discuss soil carbon sequestration and the opportunities that this proposes to address climate change. And then Norway, I spoke at an art museum and that was in Trondheim, and then in Oslo to the National Farmers Union there. And there's a growing movement toward regenerative agriculture. Norway, it's a little different from many places because it's a planned agricultural system, and it suits many people just fine to not really worry about what they're growing in Norway, but rather take advantage of the whole European Union. So that's actually pretty important, what's happening in many countries with the fact that goods flow so easily, and so people don't often have to really consider or really work on the agricultural systems in their own land. And then one thing I also want to mention is that I see that Isabel lives in California, and there's coming up in August a really vibrant conference called the Urban Soil Summit. And that's being put together by a group of landscapers who realized that their work is about more than making pretty gardens. So they've really started engaging within this work and soil restoration and enhancing the water cycle and cooling landscapes. And that's happening August. I'll get a link, August 7th through 9th. And I really recommend it. And another reason that that's always such a dynamic conference is that it brings urban people and ranchers and farmers together. But the most of the people are city dwellers, and that's a group that's important to engage in many ways to make things happen. So.
Interesting, yeah. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, I'll post that.
Adam, would you like to introduce yourself? And Judy, that event you mentioned is also on the RI calendar.
Okay.
So everybody can find it there. If you go to the RI page and go to events, you'll see it there as well.
Excellent.
My name is Adam Sachs. I'm with Biodiversity for Livable Climate, and we put on 9 conferences. Judy was at several of them over the past 2.5 years, and our staff scientist who has worked closely with Judy at times is Jim Laurie, has developed a program which he calls Scenario 300, Making Climate Cool, and that was the topic of our April 30th conference in Washington, D.C. We are going to expand on it and use it, I think, this fall in Cambridge for our conference, presumably at Harvard, presumably the weekend before Thanksgiving, but things don't stabilize in schools until the fall. So, it stimulated a lot of interest. We had 20,000 people check in to the live streaming on Facebook while the conference was going on. And Judy, you mentioned the sense of urgency. I think there is nothing more urgent than growing the sense of urgency, because we just have to, we're not responding accordingly. And what responding accordingly means is kind of hard to put your finger on, but when it's not there, we know it's not there. And I had a long talk with my college roommate, and he's a special ed teacher. He's been a special ed teacher for 50 years, and he's well past retirement, but just does it because he loves it. And I said, Jed, at what point does the climate crisis compel you to do something else? The way it compels me and the rest of us. And how do you promote that sense of compulsion when the hurricane is 8 hours off? what do? Do you do what you usually do? Probably not. And metaphorically, this is all 8 hours off. Metaphorically, we're in the throes of it now. So I'm going to talk at a conference in Aspen next week called the American Renewable Energy Institute. And when I was first invited to do that, I thought I'd be, kind of going into the emissions lion's den. And it turns out that the person who organized the conference, I met him last September, and I told him about eco-restoration and climate, and he had never heard of it. And now, apropos of what Isabel says about the expansion of all of it, now there are several people speaking at that conference on eco-restoration. Danielle is going to be there. Rachel, not Danielle Howell from Savory Institute.
Cool.
I was talking to Abby, but Abby isn't here. So, but she's going to be there, and there's somebody from the IUCN, and just a whole bunch of talking about eco-restoration in an emissions setting, because everybody's starting to catch on that we can plaster the planet with solar panels and wind turbines, and it's not going to be enough. So, so I think about the urgency a lot. And I'm preparing for this talk, and we don't talk that much about it because we want to be inspiring and uplifting. We can't not confront it fully. It's just there's too much going on. I was reading about all the terrible things that are going on that I was going to tell people, briefly about before I went into the solutions. And I got really pretty down after doing that for a couple of hours. And then I watched our videos, watched some of our speakers and what people are doing around the world. And it's so relatively easy and cheap, and it's a no-brainer. And we've got no brains. What do we do about that? Anyway, the times they are a-changing, and we are part of the change, and we just really have to plow ahead. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Michael, do you want to give us an introduction?
Yeah.
And also tell us what's going on with you these days?
Sure. Yeah. First, I'll say, Adam, I'm a little envious of you going to Aspen. How do you get to go there? I've been there many times, so I'd love to find another excuse to go to Aspen anytime.
Well, you can come see me speak next week.
Yeah, I'd love to.
They collect this huge roster of speakers. I mean, it's like, and you have to look at their I don't know if the program's online yet, but look at their speakers.
Who's running the event?
It's called the American Renewable Energy Institute. This is the second year of conferences, and they go for big names.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know how I got a keynote spot.
That's really good for you.
I'm going to put their website in the chat. I was just
there you go. Cool. Thank you so much. Well, anyway, hey, everybody. My name is Michael Riley. I'm in Virginia, and I run an organization called Foodways. It's Food, W-A-Z-E, and we're an advocacy group trying to promote the concepts of regenerative food. I started this organization about 2 years ago, and it was really sort of has evolved from where I started. The initial idea was just my sheer frustration with trying to find food that met my values as a consumer. At that time, the concept of regenerative food was not on my radar screen either, as it wasn't for many of us. It was really more just about organic food, sustainable, local food. And I just felt like I too am a journalist. I have a master's in journalism. That's been my kind of my career, more on the management side of things, but that's really my heart and soul. And so I just felt like information was really thin, even those trying to provide information about really the source of our food. And since I started it, I really realized that as a lot of the information about regeneration became more, got out there a little bit more, that's really what I wanted to promote, what I wanted to do. And so, we're trying to better inform consumers. And I feel the best way to do that is to really focus in on businesses that interact with consumers in the food realm, and that's everything from farms themselves to farmers markets to brick and mortar markets, restaurants, cafes, coffee shops, and our mission really is to identify and curate businesses based on how well they are supporting a food system based on concepts of regeneration. So if they're sourcing meat, where meat from, and their produce and eggs and everything from other practices within the establishment, such as how they're cooking their food, commitment to non-GMOs and that sort of thing. And so it's a pretty labor-intensive process. So for that reason, because we're still a small team, we're still limited to Virginia, but our dream and our mission is to grow worldwide at some point in the future. And so we are a for-profit social enterprise, so we're trying to develop some ways to develop revenue, and ultimately we need to do that in a way that fulfills our fundamental mission, which is to always stay completely separate from any influence from the food industry, because the information that's out there fundamentally is, I think, flawed due to some sort of influence that you can usually find one way or another in terms of fees that are paid or advertising or whatever. So a lot of what we do, again, is just education. I find we have this food guide. It's online, and we have apps, mobile apps as well, and that's a big part of it. But lately, it's been really more just about getting out there and just educating consumers about the concepts behind what we do. So we're out there with this content saying like, hey, go eat here because we feel like they're doing a fantastic job supporting regenerative food system, but we realize that so many consumers just really don't know what the heck we're talking about. So we're getting out there and collaborating with different constituents that are like-minded in this regard. Everything from on the climate side, organizations that are fighting for climate, and on the health side of things, those that are advocating for better health through focus on things like gut health and that sort of thing. In fact, I'm giving a talk in Richmond on Monday night, collaborating with somebody on the topic of gut health and how what we do at Foodways in terms of identifying businesses in the food industry that are supporting regenerative food, how important that is to the chronic disease issues that we have, autoimmune diseases that are often tied to gut health. As Hippocrates said, all disease starts in the gut. So we make that connection between soil and gut, and how regenerative food grown with the soil, in the soil through healthy soil has a connection to our gut health. So those are the that we are.
Michael, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
How do you define regenerative food as opposed to local organic?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's when we get everywhere. First, local is, we say, local is, typically food grown on farms that we're identifying are local, but not all local food is necessarily what we're looking for, because there are plenty of local farms that are, that are spraying or, often, using feedlot systems or whatever. So we try to make that separation. And then as far as organic goes, what we try to explain to people is that fundamentally, regenerative is organic, but organic isn't always regenerative. And we try to focus in on meat because that's really sort of the one area where we can make a pretty, I think, clear-cut distinguishing sort of example for people. Some meat out there labeled organic in stores is, oftentimes still raised in confinement. And, that's not the same as like beef out in the fields and the pastures here that are 100% grass-fed on holistic systems. So we try to make that sort of distinction for people so that they understand pork and other ones. We know that a lot of organic pork really doesn't have much to do with pork coming from pigs out in the woods. And so that's, sort of what we try to kind of explain to people. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what I do. Sorry to go long-winded. I'm actually going to talk off in a few minutes because I got to get to another meeting. So happy to answer any other questions. If somebody else is talking, I may just have to give a wave. But good to be on the call again.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
And I'm Rachel. I work with Regeneration International as one of our coordinators of our programs. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you all today, I'm going to put a link to our page here, is RI has started a campaign. We're just kind of getting into doing specific campaigns, and really what that means is we just pick a topic, we're focusing on it, providing educational material and resources and support for this evolving. And so our new campaign is called Care What You Wear, and it's addressing, I just put a link to our webpage in the chat section. It's addressing the global fiber industry and the fact that it's the second largest polluter after petroleum industry. And it's a very complex system that has a lot of people involved along every step of the supply chain, from farming to manufacturing, clothing. And it's something that even a lot of people who are aware of organic food and its connection to health and the environment, they're not quite turned on to the fact that fiber production also plays into the same issues of land use, water use, pollution, our own physical health, as we're not really consuming, but as we are absorbing things that are in our clothes. And also the fact that regenerative fiber is possible through holistically managing livestock that produce wool and leather. And also recognizing the fact that our other production systems for options of fiber, like maybe linens or cotton, that we need to do some major work in making those systems more regenerative, because we do have organic cotton in a large, it's a growing market, but it's not necessarily systems that are regenerative. Like Michael was saying, not all organic systems are regenerative. So I'd like to invite you to take a little bit of time, look at the resources that we have on that webpage. One of the things that we're building out as part of this campaign is a resource list, which I'm totally working on. If you go down the page, it says Buy Fiber Responsibly, and there's a link to a responsible brands directory. And if you start a conversation with anybody about the issues of the fiber industry, basically the immediate response for most people is, well, then where do I buy clothes? It's like there are no options. The reality is there are some options. They are few, but there are some really great options for companies that are committed to using all organic natural fibers, and also to incorporating some regenerative fibers like wool into their systems that are doing true fair trade and a lot of really creating ecological standards for clothing. So this directory will get a facelift. Right now it's just like a Google spreadsheet on the page. It's getting a facelift right now.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. I know personally how challenging this is, because I've, certainly, there's some new ones on here I've never seen, but they're just, you look at even this list, which is a pretty good list. It's so small compared to what's out there, right? In terms of
totally.
Unbelievable.
Totally.
Very nice logo too.
Rachel, have you talked to anyone at Eileen Fisher?
she's on our list, but we haven't talked to anybody directly with them. I don't think we have a direct contact with them. You know, we were aware in promoting Fast Fashion is an organization that has like a fast fashion week. That's a lot of social media prompting people to ask who made their clothes and how their clothes are made and things like that. But do you have a contact with?
I have, their sustainability person is named Amy Hall.
Okay.
I would go in there and have long conversations. There's an outlet near me. And I would have long conversations with everybody there, and we'd talk all about regenerative, sustainable clothing. And I know that that's something that they're thinking
That's
about.
awesome.
I mean, they're at least dealing with sustainable methods and cutting down water use. Regenerative might be a next step.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get regenerative food than it is to get regenerative clothing, because there's so much processing and there's so much energy that's used to produce clothes.
Yeah.
That, like Rick from Patagonia, and there's an interview online of him where he's basically saying it's almost impossible to make a clothing item that really doesn't have any negative environmental impact. And that's coming from Patagonia, who is at one of the leaders in pioneering sustainability and making clothes. But this campaign is partnering closely with Fiber Shed, who's in California, doing really amazing work helping farmers create carbon farming plans to produce wool. Most of their production is small scale, but they're working to supply some larger companies. And so it is possible. But it's an interesting aspect of the regenerative farming movement. We don't often think about fiber.
Rachel, there's another, just interrupt because I am got to go here in like 2 minutes, but another one that I'm aware of, and I don't know how, sort of sustainable organic they are, but it's called Free Fly Apparel. I think they're based in the Carolinas, and all their clothing is bamboo. So, I bring that up just because I know bamboo is kind of becoming sort of more trendy, I guess, in that respect. And, I know bamboo is, I guess, touted as a sustainable regenerative product because, number one, I understand it's very good at capturing carbon from, at least I don't know how factual that is. And then just because of the fact that it is essentially like a weed and does regenerate very quickly. So anyway, I don't know. There again, if you want to look at them, Free Fly Apparel.
Cool, thanks. I'll definitely look at them.
It's all bamboo, and they claim it to be, grown, produced, without pesticides and all that. So, maybe
that's great.
Sort of category to sort of look at in terms of.
It's interesting from what the little research I've done on bamboo and other natural fibers like Tencel is that they require chemicals usually to turn them into fabric.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's really.
I mean, it's like if you imagine bamboo becoming something like soft and pliable. So I mean, that's a question I have, is where can we align with those? The source of the fiber is regenerative and sustainable, and
why they say
that processing aspect.
Go naked. That's the key. Anyway, on that note, I got to go. It's good to see everybody.
Great to see you, Michael. Thanks for joining the
call. Yeah.
So, and what about hemp? I mean, people are starting to grow hemp in this country.
That's another thing. There are ways they call it retting, to naturally ret hemp, but they're not widely used. And again, it's a very heavy chemical process to process hemp. So that's just, it's just kind of putting attention on an area that really needs.
Yeah, there's also the issue of.
Go ahead, Isabel.
Yeah, there's the issue of end of life, for clothing. Patagonia had an amazing video online where they bury one of their clothing items that has another shred of aesthetics on, because the threads are, a lot of the time, the threads at least, are synthetic materials. And dig up this one garment that is made entirely of natural fibers. After a month or so, they get up, and they also bury different garment, just more conventional produced. And the natural fiber garment is completely gone. You can see the outline, because I think one thread is harder to get rid of, degrade slower. Whereas the other garment is just about so intact, and that's of course always really difficult. It's like when I have to tie my yoga pants, which are apparently only cotton, right? There's still some synthetic spandex, something in it. I put them in my clothes. I've tried. So there's that aspect as well.
Yeah.
So, people used hemp before there were industrial chemicals.
Totally. And there's a
flax and cotton and all of those things.
Yeah.
And that's a restructuring of what we think of as economics. I mean, if economics is killing you, it's not very economical.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's in line with all the kinds of things we say about relocalization. It's in line with what Michael Kravchuk did with hiring hundreds of people to do the check dams in Slovakia, and what Via Campesina does. And I mean, it's just, to me, it's becoming more clear that the essential way of doing this is local in a very profound sense. I mean, it's really, if I were to kind of try to reinvent it, I think I would want to start with everything local and see where we hit the wall.
Yeah.
Where would we get stuck in trying to do 100% local? So Ridgeshin is out here trying to make New England more self-sufficient in beef, because we got a couple of thousand ranchers here who grow beef, and they ship it off to the Midwest to finish, and then they ship it back here as steaks. And that's kind of strange, actually.
Yeah.
So how do we, I mean, has anybody come up with a scenario of going 100% local and seeing where the limits are?
For clothing?
For anything.
Well, yeah, you need to look at fiber. Well, specifically for clothing, Fiber Shed. Okay. Rebecca Burgess. There's several interviews and I think videos of her, because she did a thing for like a year. She only wore clothing that was made within a 50 or 100-mile radius.
She's out in California, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I met her at...
And there's some great information on her quest, basically. And that was like her thing, is I'm just going to do it and figure out where the gaps are and figure out how this is even possible and find the people who are really doing this. And
but she was also making her own clothes, wasn't she?
She does weaving and sewing, but a lot of other people made her clothes too. But she,
sure.
She found sources for, like she found this woman who organically farmed cotton in California, which right now they don't, and it was made into fabric. It was woven in California, and this woman had like a storage full of this organic fabric that she had been saving. This was before all the manufacturing had moved overseas, basically. So, but they're working with a project, a mill in Texas that's turning organic cotton into fabric there in Texas. And so, but I agree, Adam, it's taking a local approach and seeing how far.
Well, the irony is that at least in California, a lot of the wool doesn't get used. I think a fraction of the wool that we have here is being used for clothing or garments or something like that. It's usually cheaper rates for meat, and the wool goes to waste.
Yeah, that's what it literally goes to the landfill. And like, I didn't know there's a
Does
company.
it really?
There's a company,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Duckworth, that makes like T-shirts out of 100% merino wool that's raised in the United States. And I didn't know wool could be made into a fabric that was like, I mean, it's obviously doesn't feel like a cotton T-shirt, but that was that lightweight, that finely woven, and it totally can be. And so it's interesting, rethinking clothing. It was something that really wasn't on my radar either until Ronnie was like, we need to address this as well.
What's really interesting, I think, about Rebecca Burgess is that her clothes are very, very expensive, but it's the premise that you have one piece of clothing that you really love, and you just wear it until it's worn out, and then you bury it in the compost. So it's a completely different approach to fashion.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's a different mindset.
I think that's a really good point. That
absolutely.
You know, I worked as a bicycle mechanic for a while, and we used to say that there's nothing as expensive as a cheap tool because it would break, it wouldn't work very well, and the same thing if you look at externalities is true of food. It's true of clothes. I mean, cheap clothes you get at Macy's are really very expensive, and you get one. I have a laundry basket that I've been using for 55 years. It was made in China at a time when hardly anything got over from the People's Republic of China to the U.S., but somehow it slipped through the import police, and that thing is still. It's like. It's a handmade basket from reeds or whatever, and it
won't die.
It won't die. It won't die. And there are all kinds of things that we can have like that, and buy once, and that's it. You've got it. You buy a good set of kitchen knives, and that's it. You don't have to buy another one again unless you break them. But
I do agree, Isabel, and I, what you're saying about we have to redefine the culture around clothing, because fast fashion is actually relatively new, but it's taken off incredibly. And when you look at the numbers of how much money we spend on clothing and the amount of clothing that we have over like the past 50 years, it's incredible the amount of change that's happened there. And so, but there is this really, there are several cultural movements that are happening. It's like, one is the capsule closet that's really popular in larger fashion world where, you know, you only have a certain amount of items, and basically this concept, you buy less and you buy better. So it becomes much less overwhelming when you look at buying a $50 t-shirt, when you look in your closet and you say, I have 5 t-shirts that I love and I feel good about and I can feel good about wearing. It makes it more possible. So,
well, that's the parallel with food.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I have a question for for all of you, because you're all involved with farmers. We'd like to start doing regenerative farming webinars as RI. I'm not sure how often there will be so far. We need to see who all is interested in leading them. But, you know, there's so many amazing people doing regenerative farming. And if we can, the idea is to have a speaker speak or maybe share a presentation for 30 minutes and then have another 30 minutes of Q&A with participants. Something that would be really useful for people who are farming, because I think a lot of farmers are just doing very unique things, and people often read about these like big concepts of regenerative agriculture, but I think have a lot of questions about the how-to.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you all if you had ideas or contacts with farmers that you think who are doing regenerative farming that you think would be interested in giving RI an hour of their time for free.
That would be something to get the word, to start spreading the word and see who who responds. Yeah. Well, I guess, have you had Jesse McDougall on? Do you know who he is?
Nope.
Okay. He lives near me here in southern Vermont, and he's the one that I know you've had contact with him because he's the one that introduced the Regenerative Soils Act in Vermont.
In Vermont.
And
is he like Studio Hill Farm?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's my vote because he's a very good communicator.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy. Thanks.
Sure.
I mean, I need to get together a whole presentation for what these webinars would be, but I just wanted to, if you guys have ideas of people who you think would be willing or would be good presenters, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I can definitely think of a couple of people. I can just put you in touch with. We have a sort of an informal group of farmers that are interested in regenerative agriculture that I've been working with. They do anything from dry farming to row crops to almonds, also dry farmed. We have some ranchers that we work with. So there's definitely some good contacts, and they're usually very generous with their time and always happy to share what they do and how they do it. And I think it's a really, really good idea to do webinars. A lot of the time, farmers do come online, and it's hard for them to travel. They live remotely or something, and they do a lot on the internet. They watch YouTube also. If you record these, they can have a live beyond the live stream. So I think it's an excellent idea, and I will definitely be happy to help.
That's so great. Thanks, Isabel.
So Rachel, you think of doing this as a webinar and then recording the webinar and creating a library?
Yeah. Yeah, of like because like even Gabe Brown's presentations are amazing, and can watch lots of presentations, but and I don't know if he would have time. I know
he should.
It's free to ask.
It's like I would love a how-to on what kind of seeder is he using, what are his mixes of cover crops, like what seeds do those contain, how is he, just more how-to type of information for farmers.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
I listened to a presentation recently by David Johnson, who apparently is moving up in the world, up meaning people are now starting to believe other than what conventional soil science says. And so he had a video presentation. This was with an organization called CAF, something Family Farmers, and there were two parts of it. One part was his presentation mostly, and the other part was a panel discussion, and Paul Kaiser was there, and a couple of others, and David was there, and two of them were farmers, and I guess David is also a farmer of sorts, and they were talking about what it's like for farmers to transition from one practice to the next. And I'm not a farmer, so I didn't know a lot of that stuff. It was very interesting because we're constantly asking the question of what does it take to get people to change, The classic story from Alan Savory is that there's a holistic rancher and everything's green and flourishing, and on the other side of the fence it's all bare, and the farmer on the other side of the fence says, well, that's because you get more rain on your side of the fence. That may actually be some truth to that, but it's very difficult for farmers to change paradigms. And as one of the panelists said, it's because if they do that, they're betting the farm. They're doing something that they know is a pretty sure income, even if it's toxic, even if it's expensive, and so you hear all of these stories of farmers switching when they're about to go bankrupt and they have no choice. And obviously that's not the only circumstance. But I think I'll put in the URL for that for that for those two videos.
Yeah, please do.
But I would. I actually just got an email from him just as this started, so I haven't read it yet because I asked him if he'd speak at our conference in November. But I'd like to hear about other people's experiences with him.
Yeah.
I will be able to tell you more next year, I guess, after we have him as a keynote speaker. But so far, I've just worked with David on, writing up some proposals for some presentations that he would be giving, some workshops, and he's been incredibly generous with his time and just inspiring and great to work with. So.
Yeah, we have. I'm just blanking on the names. The couple from Singing Frogs Farm that do
yeah, Paul and Elizabeth
Paul
Kaiser.
Yeah, that's right. They're interested in doing a webinar on no-till large-scale vegetable farming, which is something a lot of people have no idea. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I've been to their farm. It's an amazing oasis. It's really interesting. And Paul and Elizabeth also, they're both really good about record keeping, and they can underlie everything with science. They have the data for what they do, and it's a very small parcel, and it's just incredible the kind of fertility they get out of there and what they've done.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. We have these positive, so-called positive deviants. Yeah. And we should be talking about negative deviants, because the mainstream is one big bundle of negative deviants. But since the mainstream is the mainstream, it doesn't consider itself deviant. But it's these positive deviants, and that's what I'm going to try to emphasize when I get to Aspen.
Yeah.
These are the possibilities. Even if you only have 2 examples and you have 1 million examples of the negative deviants, you have something to go for. Nobody ran a 4-minute mile until Roger Bannister ran a 4-minute mile. And then lots of people started running 4-minute miles because they saw it was possible.
Mm.
And that's the race we're in right now. So, I mean, I think the kind of numbers he came up with, not being able to get published because they're so outrageous from a conventional perspective, are just of absolute key importance. And so I want to do whatever I can to get him out there. And we're publishing a compendium of lots of things that support eco-restoration and regenerative land management in climate, and that'll be out in a week or so. And so, as you all know, but we'll have lots of supporting literature and trying to collect it from all the splattered places that it normally lives in, trying to collect it more in one place.
Is there a mailing list that we're all connected to after this call, something like that? Because this sounds great, and I would love to be able to look at it.
RI has a mailing list that is it's a monthly mailing list, but it's primarily a events newsletter. But Biodiversity for a Livable Climate also has
we have a list.
A mailing list.
That's right. I should just subscribe to that.
So,
just go to
they have a great mailing list. And
it's bioforclimate.org, bio4climate.org. I'll put that up here too.
I will get on that, but it might be a nice idea to start a listserv with people who have been on these video chats to stay in touch in between chats. Just something more sort of informal, personal than the larger RI list, which is really the news list. Yeah, just an idea would be nice.
Sure. And Isabel, have you heard of Slack by chance?
Do I have what?
A communication tool called Slack.
Oh, I have not used that.
Okay. We do have an RI Slack channel. It's not very active, but that is a more internal, smaller community of people in the RI community.
Rachel, I don't mean to be negative about it.
But nobody really uses it.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many
Yeah.
tools out there. They're
I
driving me
know.
nuts. I have to keep climbing tool learning curves. So it eventually comes down just by default to Google Drive and
Sure.
email.
Yeah, definitely.
Listserv, the good old
So it's
listserv.
Yeah,
interesting.
listen.
And there. So what do you have a suggestion for?
Just a Google group will do, then we can all post if we have something and everybody sees it. And you might want to set some ground rules that it's only for announcements or, so people are respectful of everybody's time. I don't know. But it could be nice for stuff that comes up in between these calls, like if somebody publishes, a paper or has an event or, that kind of thing.
Definitely. Okay, so I will do a little research. I actually don't have much experience in Google Groups.
It's really simple. I can help you.
Okay, I'll do a little research between this call and the next to see how we could maybe get something like that started. That would be a easy way. Adam, do you do Google Groups?
Yeah. I can start something if you want. I can make you an owner.
Yeah, let me look into it, and I think that could be a great option.
Okay, just let me know if you want me to help.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so we're reaching about our timeline. Does anybody have any other final comments or any other events that we should know about? Adam, it's great to know about the energy event you're speaking at.
There is something else that I'm likely going to attend.
Oh my gosh, Dudu.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Dudu. Dudu, I think there was some confusion with the time zone because we started an hour ago and we're just wrapping up. Can you hear us?
Oh, we can hang out another 5 minutes for Dudu.
Sure.
You don't know who he is, Isabel, but he was one of the people at the Savory Hub training in 2013 that I went to, and he's a young Turkish student who started the holistic hub in Turkey with people who had no idea how to ranch. And I haven't spoken to him for 3 years, so I'm curious to get an update.
Is he there?
Dudu, can you hear us? Let's see if I can send a message directly. I'm gonna try and message him directly. Judy, were you gonna announce some other?
Oh yeah, I just sent a post. I just posted the co-dialogue on land and security. And a while back, Alex Groom and I talked to somebody over there, the group. So,
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going there, and it's there's a restoration track. There's a track of business, governance, and restoration. And I'm taking part in that.
Awesome.
So Durakan just wrote to us.
No, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, Judy, I would love to go to Co. David Addison has been encouraging me to do that, but we just don't have very much money. I got an invitation to speak in China too.
Oh wow!
Eco Forum in Qinling, but they want me to pay for it.
Eco Forum in Qinling?
Yeah, do you know about it?
No, I should check it out.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's the Qinling Eco Forum in Xi'an.
Interesting.
And so they want me to speak on restoring ecosystems. It's sponsored by all these Chinese ministries and the UN and a couple of other agencies, but we don't have any money and they don't have any money. They'll waive the conference fee, but getting to China back is a little pricey. Not to mention 2 days in an airplane round trip.
So
no Dudu.
Oh. He's here on chat, but Dudu, can you hear us speaking? He can hear us. Okay. Anybody have anything they want to share with Dudu before we?
Just hi.
Yeah, hi.
I wish we
Where
could
you
hear
been?
you.
What's happening? Send us an update.
Yeah, but we can't hear any sound coming through Dudu, so I'm not sure what.
Can you do anything from your manager position?
No, he's not muted, so I can see that. I'm not quite sure.
The video is off.
He's enjoying himself.
Yeah. Okay, well, Dudu, I think we're unfortunately gonna sign off.
But we do want to hear what you're up to, so email,
Yeah.
Facebook next time.
Yeah, next time.
Absolutely. Yeah, please join us next time and send us an email also if you have any updates. Yeah, sorry, it started at 12 o'clock Eastern time.
Aha.
Okay.
So I think it's the microphone.
Yeah, probably because it sounds like nothing is coming through. So, all right.
Do you know the date for the next chat?
I don't have the. Let's see. I can look and see what it's going to be. It's usually the second Thursday of every month.
Okay.
So I will put that on the RI events calendar very soon.
Which is a good calendar. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, please, you can submit events yourself, or you could also send an email and I can submit them. I'm sorry, the chats are usually the third Thursday of every month. At the same time. So you can go ahead and plan on that. The next chat will be July 20th at 12 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for checking in and sharing.
And wonderful to hear about the clothing effort.
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Well, it's just getting started and we're just kind of building our own resources and research and also doing a lot of intentional education through social media.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's something that maybe could get picked up by women's magazines.
Yeah.
Although it kind of goes against their advertisers' wishes.
Yeah. My 34-year-old daughter has gotten into minimalism.
Yeah.
She's very excited about getting rid of all of my stuff.
Yeah.
And she's done a very good job of her own. And I just oh my God, I had to move last year. It was a nightmare because of all the things I have. It's just.
Yeah, I'm a very bad minimalist, but I'm trying to get better, starting with my closet.
Have you read Marie Kondo's book?
No. But it's this whole cultural awakening of realizing that our culture has gone through this massive shift to consumer consumption.
Yeah, well, it's a very good little book, and she has some interesting recommendations, and it's all about attitude.
Cool.
But I found it quite helpful.
What is it called again? Who's the author?
Marie Kondo, Kondo.
Okay, cool. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah, and there's some stuff about her online. And now all my clothes are wrapped up into my drawers in these very neat little. And so I can put 25% more stuff in a drawer. That's kind of silly because I should really be eliminating it. But
now you can fit more in. That's great. Thanks, Adam.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, Dudu, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Yeah, have a good conference, Adam, and thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adios.
Adios. Bye-bye.